Imagine 50,000 soldiers marching into a desert, fully armed, fully trained, ready for battle, but they never returned. No bodies, no weapons, no trace, just gone. This is the real mystery of the army that vanished from history. The story of the lost army begins in the 6th century BCE, during the rule of Cambyses II, a powerful ruler of the vast Persian Empire. He was the son of Cyrus the Great and had already proven himself a strong conqueror. After taking control of Egypt, he wanted to secure his authority over every corner of the land. However, there was one place that did not recognize his rule, a distant desert sanctuary called Siwa Oasis. According to ancient sources, the priests there refused to accept him as a legitimate ruler. This angered the king, and he decided to send a military expedition to deal with them. Now, here is where the mystery truly begins. Historical accounts say the king ordered around 50,000 soldiers to march westward across the desert. This was not a small patrol or scouting party. It was a massive force, equipped for a long journey and trained for harsh conditions. Armies in that era were used to traveling through difficult terrain, but deserts were especially dangerous. Water was scarce, navigation was difficult, and even experienced guides could lose direction if wind shifted the sand dunes. At this point, the only detailed written description of what happened comes from Herodotus, a historian who lived about a century later. He wrote that the army marched for several days without incident. They crossed known routes, stopped at an oasis, and continued deeper into the desert. Then, according to his account, a powerful sandstorm suddenly struck. He claimed the wind became so violent and the sand so thick that it buried the entire army. When the storm ended, nothing remained visible. The soldiers, their weapons, and their supplies had all vanished beneath the sand. Now historians today take this story seriously, but also carefully. Herodotus is often called the father of history, yet he is also known for including stories that mixed fact with legend. Because of this, scholars debate whether the event happened exactly as he described or whether the tale changed over time as it was retold. Still, the idea of an entire army disappearing is so unusual that it has fascinated researchers for centuries. Another possibility experts discuss is that the army was not destroyed by nature but by people. Some historians think the soldiers may have been attacked by local tribes who knew the desert well. In unfamiliar territory, even a large army can be vulnerable. If guides misled them or if they wandered off course, they might have become disorganized and weak from thirst. In such a condition, a smaller local force could potentially defeat them. Supporters of this theory argue that if the army had been ambushed and defeated, the victors might have buried or scattered the remains, which could explain why no clear archaeological evidence has been found. Moving to another explanation, some researchers suggest the army simply got lost. Deserts are deceptive landscapes. Without modern navigation tools, it is easy to travel in circles without realizing it. Landmarks shift, dunes move, and the horizon looks the same in every direction. Even today, travelers in large deserts can become disoriented. If the army's guides died, made an error, or lost their bearings, the soldiers might have wandered until their water ran out. Instead of dying in one dramatic moment, they could have perished gradually over days. Their remains would then be scattered across a wide area, making discovery extremely difficult. There is also a theory based on exaggeration. Some historians think the army might not have been as large as 50,000. Ancient writers sometimes used large numbers symbolically or to emphasize importance. If the force was smaller, it might have disappeared in a way that seemed mysterious but was actually ordinary for that time period. Armies in ancient campaigns sometimes vanished due to disease, starvation, desertion, or defeat, and records of such losses were not always preserved accurately. Now consider archaeological efforts. Over the last century, explorers have repeatedly searched the Egyptian desert, hoping to find proof of the lost army. A few teams claim they discovered bones, arrowheads, or bronze weapons buried under sand dunes. However, none of these finds were confirmed beyond doubt as belonging to that specific expedition. The desert is vast, and artifacts from many different periods exist there, so linking any discovery directly to the missing soldiers is extremely difficult. Without inscriptions, identifiable armor, or clear dating, evidence remains inconclusive. Another interesting point is that deserts can both destroy and preserve history. On one hand, wind can scatter remains and bury objects under meters of sand, hiding them for thousands of years. On the other hand, dry conditions can preserve bones, wood, and textiles remarkably well. Because of this, some researchers believe that if the army really was buried in one place, its remains might still exist intact somewhere beneath the dunes, waiting to be uncovered by future discoveries or new technology such as ground-penetrating radar. Now looking at why this mystery continues to attract attention, the answer lies in its uniqueness. History records many lost battles and defeated armies, but very few stories describe an entire force disappearing without a trace. Normally, there are survivors, witnesses, or physical remains. In this case, there is only a written account and centuries of speculation. That combination of limited evidence and dramatic storytelling keeps the mystery alive. It is also important to remember that ancient historical writing was different from modern reporting. Writers often relied on travelers' stories, oral traditions, and second-hand information. Details could change as they passed from one person to another. So while Herodotus may have recorded the story faithfully as he heard it, the original event might have been very different from the version that reached him. In the end, no single explanation has been proven. The sandstorm theory, the ambush theory, the lost in the desert theory, and the exaggeration theory all have supporters. Each one solves part of the puzzle, but leaves other questions unanswered. Until clear archaeological evidence is discovered, the fate of the army will remain uncertain. So what we are left with is a historical mystery that sits between fact and legend. An army was sent into the desert. After that, the record falls silent. Whether they were buried by nature, defeated by enemies, or simply lost to the vastness of the sands, their story reminds us how much of ancient history is still unknown. And perhaps somewhere, beneath layers of shifting desert dunes, the final proof of what truly happened is still waiting to be found.